Recordeu, sisplau, de dir el nom i el mitjà abans de cada pregunta.
Good afternoon and welcome to Luis Enrique's press conference ahead of Saturday's match against Deportivo La Coruña. Kickoff is set for 4:15 p.m. Central European Time at Camp Nou.
Comencem, Marc, com vulguis.
Bona tarda, míster. Marc Veu de Barça TV.
Good afternoon.
No.
Bona tarda, míster. Bé, demà partit contra el Deportivo després d'aquesta setmana sense competir. Dos detalls d'aquest
Tomorrow's match comes against a week without matches.
Dos empats i ara mateix també és un dels equips menys golejat de la Lliga.
Deportivo have 2 draws in the last 2 matches at Camp Nou, and they seem to be playing well. What do you think about them going into the match tomorrow?
Perdón. Pues sí, no solo los dos.
Yes, not just their matches, the 2-2 draws in the last 2 seasons, but also the fact that we are restarting competition after the players were with their national teams. We've had 2 weeks to prepare for this game. These are circumstances that could influence the game, and we have to be alert for Deportivo because they give up few goals, they defend very well, they know what they're going to do, and they will try to make things difficult for us. It's a test, and it's a special game because of us restarting the competition. I wanted to ask you about Gerard Piqué. What does he look like to you these last few days after saying he was going to leave the Spanish national team, and he had an interview on TV? And do you think you could be, as the coach of Barça, could Piqué be the president? No, I haven't seen it. I don't really have much to say about that. I think he explained it very, very well. He has the ability to communicate well. He's very accustomed to gathering all the information about him, and he explained things very, very well from what I heard. And Gerard Piqué can be anything he wants with Barça. He's a player, which is the most important thing, in as far as you have a direct influence on the field of play. But he can be anything, a coach, the president, first of all because he's a big Barça supporter, and also because he's very motivated.
Veus Aleix Vidal preparat per assumir el rol de titular davant la baixa de Sergi Roberto?
Does Aleix Vidal look like a starter with Sergio Roberto out? Well, we've only trained all together for 2 days, but I see all the players with a chance to start tomorrow, of course, among those who are available. Luis Suarez said after the Colombia game that he had some discomfort. How does he look physically as far as the match tomorrow? Well, he's available, just like everybody else. He didn't say that to me. I spoke to him, and it's obvious that the players have to make transatlantic flights and they have fewer days to recover from that, but I've seen him good. He's trained just like his teammates, and I think he's in good condition.
Has contado mucho en los últimos entrenamientos con Nili Perdomo, con el lateral del filial.
You've worked in the last few training sessions with Nili and Perdomo from the reserves. Do they have the chance to make the team for tomorrow? With several of our international players out, younger players have come in to help us out, and that's something that happens normally because of the numbers, and those chances are always there for any player. That's something that's good for us, that we can count on having players from the reserves.
rotaciones o más rotaciones que otras temporadas para que llegue fresco a final de temporada?
Can you comment on the possibility of rotating in and out Leo Messi so that he is healthy going into the end of the season?
Saber que vamos a ganar títulos entre todos.
The mentality on this team is based on what's good for the whole squad. We have a lot of games, a long season, and that's the objective that everybody has in common.
Luis, aquí. Buenas tardes, Carlos Escolán, en directo para Radio Marca. Te pregunto por Gerard Piqué, pero...
I want to ask about Gerard Piqué, but you played a long time with the Spanish national team. And the other day, Gerard Piqué said that he was not going to continue with the team. It was a decision he had thought about. Do you understand that decision? It's not about what I understand. I think that Gerard explained things very well.
2018 Rusia queda un año y pico, ¿no? Casi 2 años.
I think that there's still 1 or 2 years left until the World Cup in Russia.
A la gente que mete la información que mete.
I think we shouldn't worry so much about what other people say. We heard what Gerard had to say, but in the next 2 years, a lot of things can happen. You've said more than once that if there's any coach who can help a player change a player's situation, you're that person. Can you comment on that with relation to the Aleix Vidal situation? I don't tend to give clues as to what I'm going to do, especially to the rival coach before a game. And I said that I'm happy with the performance of all my players, and it's true that I've said that before. Throughout my career, there were players who I hadn't counted on, but in the end, I did. Several players. That doesn't mean that it's easy for a player to change his personal situation, nor the complete opposite. I'm sorry, but I'm not going to say who's going to play tomorrow, nor how many minutes. I'm open to any option.
Hola Luis, buenas tardes. Claudia Collado de Movistar Plus. Te quería preguntar
I wanted to ask you about Leo Messi, what he looks like training with the group, and do you think he'll play tomorrow, or will you wait for him to play next week against Manchester City at home? In principle, the big news is that we're getting back Samuel Umtiti and Leo, injured players. Messi has been with the group since Wednesday. He came back looking good, at a good level. And when you come back from injury, you need minutes, both in training and in games, to get back into shape. And I'll speak with him about tomorrow. But in principle, he's ready, just like Samuel Umtiti.
Aquí, Marc Marvà, de la porteria de BTV. El precedent de l'Alavés del passat mes de setembre, tornada de seleccions, també partit al Camp Nou, et serveix de referència pel partit de demà?
In looking at the last international break, is that something you can use going into the game tomorrow? No, it's not really the same situation. If it were, I could possibly look at it. But in looking at what Eibar did, that would work in some situations. But tomorrow against Deportivo, we're going to have to see what happens. It will be different for us because we've had very few days with the whole team together. And it's not any kind of excuse, because this happens to all the big teams, but it's a situation that conditions the game. And when you have a result like the game against Alavés, you look at these games a little more closely. And when we have games in the past where Deportivo had good results against us at Camp Nou, you have to take that into account, and that means that it's going to be an intense game for us. We're going to need the full support of the fans, and we know that they can make things tough for us, Deportivo. When a player goes several games without making the squad, does this have the chance to become a problem in the dressing room? I'm worried about any situation.
tenga relación directa con mis jugadores.
that is directly related to my players. But as much as I can explain,
Caperucita y el lobo feroz, al final las decisiones del entrenador son las que son, hablan por sí solas en muchos
my
casos.
decisions are what they are. They speak for themselves. And I'm not here to try and narrate a movie, a fiction movie. I don't have any problems with any of my players. I don't have any complaint with anybody on the squad. And that's the way the situation is. I think it's the same situation that every coach has. There's always someone that they can't get into the squad.
Jordi Grau de TV3. En el que portem de Lliga fins ara, per circumstàncies
In looking at the league until now, Messi, Suarez, and Neymar have only started 2 games together in the league. How important are these players for the team, and whether or not that represents some sort of handicap? I didn't know about that fact. I don't think we need to exaggerate. If we had won the last game against one of the bottom teams, we would be leaders. And in the last few games, we haven't been able to play with Leo, but these things happen throughout the season. Most professionals have the opinion that you need the whole team to win championships, and you have to overcome these circumstances. That's part of football, and that's what happens in a normal season.
Los equipos del Barça contigo en las últimas temporadas se han caracterizado por ser fuertes en casa. En este arranque, por distintas circunstancias, os habéis dejado ir puntos. Es fundamental, ¿no?
Barça teams in the past seasons have been very strong at home. This year, you've dropped some points early in the season at home. What can you say about that? Without any doubt. When that happens, you have to be equal or better away. But you know what? You really have to be good at both home and away. It's true that this season, drawing against Atletico Madrid and falling to Alaves, that could also fall into the realm of what's considered normal. But with our objective of winning the league again, that makes the challenge especially difficult. It's something that Barça has done many times throughout its history, and we know that it's going to be tough. That's the way it is. If there's anything that the early season has shown us, it's that it's a very tough challenge. Manchester City is going to be at Camp Nou on Wednesday. How does that game influence how you prepare your starting 11 for tomorrow's game? There's only one game for us, and that game is against Deportivo. And even more so, because in the league we can quickly get points back, and the only way to do that is to win our game. History is there. The players know the situation we're in. They know how difficult it is or how special it is to prepare a game in just a few days with everybody together. But I repeat, thinking about another game next week is a mistake. Neymar said yesterday that he understood that rotating players is good. How have you been able to convince your players to see player rotations as a positive thing? I haven't done anything in the last 2 years and 2 months that I've been coach to convince them of that. I just want them to understand that we do what's best for the team. Beyond that, there are individual things, but the coaches and staff look for the common good. I just want my players to understand that, and that's great. There's no problem.
Hola, Mr. Pete Jensen, Independent. La ausencia de Messi es algo que se nota no solo en el campo.
The absence of Messi is something.
Cuando él no está, otro túnel antes de los partidos.
Does it make not just the games different, but the dressing room different? No, because when he's injured,
está en cada sesión de entrenamiento antes de entrenar, o sea, tiene relación directa con sus compañeros.
He's still around, relating to his teammates. Of course, any injury is important. If you're talking about, in my opinion, the best player in history, of course, any team would notice that absence. And it makes things difficult, but it's a challenge for the team to accept it. We did it last year when it happened, and this season too. And we tried to replace him in the best way possible. But the situation is still the same. He takes part in meetings. He's not out on the field because he's injured or because he was injured. But in that sense, no.
Hola, Mr. Chavenaz para el diario Marca. En este parón, Argentina sufrió
During the international stoppage,
efectos de no jugar con Leo Messi.
Argentina had some issues having to play without Messi. And looking at the next stoppage, they have games against Brazil and other World Cup qualifiers. Does it worry you that Messi is going to have to put in a big effort for Argentina? There's still more than a month for that to happen. Anything can happen. We'll talk about that in another month.
Hola Luis, Ricardo Rossetti para Bein Sport. Has dicho en la valoración del partido.
You said in talking about the game that taking on Deportivo tomorrow could be a game to test things out or to test the team. Can you talk about that in relation to some of the other recent games? Is that what that's about, or is it about the demanding schedule that you've had and is coming up? No, to test ourselves against Deportivo based on the history that we've had against them. And that's important to understand. Deportivo have played here. They deserve to lose the last two games that they played here, but they ended up drawing them. That's a test for us.
En el que no conseguimos,
and
perdimos contra el Alavés,
and we lost to Alavés after the last international stoppage, and we don't want this to be to repeat that situation with this same factor that we weren't able to train together because of national teams. So it's another challenge for the team, but for tomorrow, everything else doesn't really matter. We have to get the 3 points to start thinking about other things down the line.
Sí, Josep Soldado de A3 Media. Una persona como tú que ha sido 62 veces internacional.
A person like you who played 62 international matches, what advice do you give a guy like Piqué as far as national teams are concerned? He didn't ask me for advice. I think he's played more international games than me. No? Yes?
Última pregunta, David.
Last question.
Hola Luis, David Ibáñez de Mediaset Sport. Buenos días. Te quería preguntar.
Good morning. I wanted to ask you about information that came out in a local newspaper this morning that you were angry with some leaks out of the clubhouse in the last couple of months, coaching situations. Is that true? Do you deny that? Are you looking for the person, the alleged leaker? I think that this all comes from a situation that came from the game we had in Germany where some tactical information came out in the media. It was just an accident, nothing else. 15 years as a player, 8 as a coach. I've never lost confidence in people. I've never lost energy inside the teams. It's something that happens inside every team. We've lived them as a player. Those things happen. But I never wasted time with these things. They do happen. It's something I can't really control. It's not one of my objectives as a coach. So if you look at what some media outlets do, I'm not going to try to argue against that. I think the people who work with me know what's important and that everybody can opine as they wish based on that. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon. Thank you for listening.